Here I am, the beautiful sunshine west coast here on Salt Spring Island, just off the Salish Sea. It's the sweet summertime. And so this is Asking Visibles. It's a channeled reading where me and my spirit mentors get to support people from all around the world with their questions under the themes of personal questions, questions for humanity, questions for the planet, exploring everything from ailments to life purpose to aliens from other planets. And so bring your questions here, bring your attentiveness here, bring your listening here. And we do this every week, except I will be traveling to Toronto actually and offering in person on Sunday and probably have some speckled times there. So for anyone here, just thanking you for bringing your presence and blessings to this transmission. So the basic guidelines are believe it, receive it, leave it, or lend it, using your internal discernment and compass to use what information and guidance is here to support you and is beneficial to your walk in this life, and letting the rest sift through like sand. Hello, Lisa. I'm doing pretty good today, just setting the space and welcoming in the presence of the great beneath, the foundations of our lives, the great beyond, the unseen allies that bring forth expansiveness to our perspectives, and of course, great within each and every one of you, your unique stories and journey in this life. So just ringing this bell and bringing us into presence before entering through these gates. So I feel called to explore today. So how this works is I usually ask the first question, and then if there's other people that are interested and have questions, please put them on the thread, and we'll go from there. And if there's no questions after a little bit, I'll probably just stop, and I'll just close the session. So my question today. Is about women's cycles and their menstruation cycles, their moon tides. And I'm curious if the Invisibles have any guidance on how to best support women or yourself when going through these times of shedding. So this is for that. Believe it or not, there are routines and rhythms that each and every one of you are part of. And these routines and rhythms are primal because they're listening and they're engaging with a cycle that is beyond the mind, a cycle that is within the body, a cycle that is connected to the great turns and rotations of this life, connected to the great stars, connected to the pull of the waves and the magnetic patterns on this planet. And so if you are in a time where you're still menstruating, or if there's somebody near you that is, and you want to explore how to support this cycle, this place in a cycle that someone's at, just like we go through cycles of emotions, through cycles of grief, through cycles of happiness. You can listen to what is the need that's current, connected to that cycle for this person. So one way to see that is that speaking to what is something in this person's life that has been creating excess baggage, whether it's an emotional connection, work agendas, and then creating space to explore, are you in any way capable of softening that load so that this person can gradually move through this shedding and be with the wisdom that's occurring. They kind of popping up because they want me to talk about this, which is how in my experience, I believe that each cycle that sheds through a woman is connected with, well, there's a few things I've experienced with it, but it's connected with all that's occurred during that cycle. So whether you've had great blisses, beautiful moments, tragedies, all of those experiences almost create this like elixir within your womb space. And that elixir can, when it comes forth, when it's released and shed and offered to the earth, hopefully, oh my gosh, that's a dog. Is kind of goes through, in order for that vibration to move through your system to be offered to the earth, you may need to experience on a very physical level what that frequency feels like, right, as it's moving through your system. And in that process of receiving and feeling and holding that frequency or that elixir as it's moving through your system, there can be contractions and resisting and holding, or there can be great releases or great openings and receptivity, because there is this sense of this heightened states of consciousness, of palpability in the connection with spirit and magic during that time. So I feel like I'm going to close and just end that question there. But so one way to explore is to how can you support wound ones that are processing or moving through so that they can be fully present with this journey of exploring and experiencing this cycle and have that they've experienced, that they've gone through. I don't know if that makes sense. So lend a hand, create a little, bring over chocolate, watch someone's kid. It's pretty obvious in my mind, but a little more of that would be fantastic. And also lending an ear, being a support person would be really good too. I know that can actually soften a lot of the weight that people hold in their body when there is a dialogue, when there's space being held to help process and move that experience through. So, moving on, we've got Rebecca and Lisa here, and maybe some other person I can't see. So, is there any questions that you guys have today? If not, I can also do a little intermission song. I'm preparing to go to Toronto. So if anyone has anyone in Toronto, Canada, that wants to come to a class, or I'm doing Ask the Invisibles and doing bio donations at a street vending experience. It's quite an experiment, but we'll see how that goes. So we've got a question here. If you have time, I would love a general reading from the Invisibles today. This is from Rebecca. Hey, sweetie. Can you offer more clarity on general reading? Do you just mean to see if there's anything that they can pick up on that's pertinent right now? Or is there a theme that you want to explore? Okay, great. So this is for Rebecca here. If you have time, a general reading from the Invisibles today. Okay. Oh. There we go. The first thing I heard was they're saying something about something that has no name. They're talking about this no name that actually needs a name, that needs to be grounded with a name. So I don't know if let's see if they have any more clarity on that. Or something that's in your life that needs to, when I think of name, it makes me think of actually giving it the attention and even the respect it deserves, giving it space to like acknowledge that maybe it's something that's occurring, maybe it's a relationship dynamic, but there's something that seems like it's kind of been a little bit ambiguous, perhaps, or hasn't been fully addressed or given a name, or it could be a health experience, something happening in your body. Um, but it feels like, hmm, they're talking about something also like in your tissues or in like your cell memory, possibly connected to a past lover, that there's something like that. It's almost like they're showing this image of like something like it's itchy, like I don't know, it could be actually quite literally like having itchy, but it could also be this feeling of like something's just like not fully maybe resolved or fully like it's kind of this feeling that they're kind of showing me is like there's something that needs a little bit more space um, to kind of like get brought to the light so that it can be addressed with appropriately, because it's kind of like aggravating your system in some way. And when they're talking about cell memories too from potentially past lovers or relationships, it feels like there's something that maybe hasn't been completely digested or addressed, that it might seem like what they're showing me is it might seem like potentially insignificant unless you already have an idea of what they're getting at. You feel like clarifying, but what they're showing me is that sometimes even if things seem insignificant and putting the effort into creating the space for it, or even like reliving situations or building or like reinstilling conversations can be a little daunting and seem like a waste of time. Just like, why don't I just let old, dead dogs lay? But it's kind of this feeling that it's not about actually like necessarily creating resolution in the same way. Like it doesn't need to be resolution from finding this name or finding or bringing this to surface. It's more just getting it out from under your system, because it feels like without potentially being super conscious of it, you're holding on to something. I mean, it could even be from another person. And it's just up to you to choose, perhaps this isn't really worth holding onto, or perhaps you not giving this like this no name that they're talking about feels, sometimes it feels like, in my experience, when I've had different experiences where I don't really want to give something a name, it's because I don't want to turn it into anything that it's not. And there's that responsibility in putting attention into something, and because things happen when we put attention towards things in our lives and situations or relationships, and giving names or like speaking to a feeling can be huge. It can really rattle and shake our lives. But it feels like whatever this is, and you can explore it in your own way, it's just that irritation that's being caused by not fully just like accepting that there is something here that needs to be spoken to. It's kind of getting in the way of you like seeing fully clearly what is ahead of you, or the directions you like. Just feels like it's, even though it's a small irritation, it feels like it's kind of distracting some part of you, maybe your cellular memory, or like there's a little bit of, maybe it's affecting your judgment in some way. So take it or leave it. That's kind of what I saw. And that's for you, Rebecca. There you go. So moving on. Lisa. Oh, I love your galactic being questions. That's so sweet. I love them too. So Lisa is saying, I'm curious about my galactic beings and what they can tell me about me and the galactic gifts I brought here with me. All right. Let's see what we've got to say. It's interesting. The first thing that I saw was like, do you know this? Oh, you're welcome, Rebecca. I don't know if it's called I'm not quite sure what it's called, but it's this old, it's from like, it's been around for a long time. It's kind of like this, it's a way of drawing where it comes with these different cogs, like almost like gear cogs that are plastic, and you put a pen in it and you go round and round, and it creates these really fun kind of mandala or like vortexy images. And you can put different, so there's small ones, and they kind of move around this geared. Does anyone know what that's called? That not etch and sketch. It's like, anyways, they're showing this image of like, I'm seeing like all this way of you drawing, and this way of you drawing these kind of these patterns, and like patterns that have some sort of cycle. So like whether it's something like sacred geometry or getting into these different geomancy techniques, or exploring like structure and patterns. But it feels like there's something in there for you, and it could be, I don't know if you're, oh, we've got somebody, she says like a spirograph. Yeah, I think that's what it's called, right? Where it goes around and there's these cogs and these circles zoom around. But they're showing me this image of this, almost this like meditation connected with creating art. And in that creating art, and in that supporting people in kind of going into like, it feels like this, like almost this state, this like exploring, bringing people into this state of relaxation through continual art. So through creating patterns, and they're using that, if that's a spirograph image, I'll see if I can find it later if it's not. Other ways that I've seen that done that's really fun is I saw somebody use I think they use an old record spinner, and then they put a piece of paper on it, and then it was, so the paper was spinning, and then you would drip little daubs of paint, and it would kind of create these it's very meditative. But not to say this is, all that you can bring. Oh, Lisa says, I gave my grandkids them for Christmas last year. Nice. Well, then maybe you need to do that with your grandkids. But that there's something that can be really fun and playful, but also meditative, and help people enter into that. It's almost like into that meditative state with their brains, because sometimes being of service can be as simple as supporting people reaching a sense of calmness, and that calmness in itself, or that creativity in itself, whatever that is that you can bring, can actually restore and bring that and ripple across life itself. So maybe exploring that with yourself too, for now, seems like what they want to share. And that's for you, my dear. So, moving on, we've got Viola. Hi, sweetie. And she says, hi, lovely invisibles. I had a very intense awakening at beloved experience relating to what you say exactly. I was mooning, and heart expanding was so amplified, still shaking, open to guidance how to integrate the best way. I think I am falling in love again. I wonder if it's personal or if it's universal. And then the other thing she said up here is what I felt like I saw what 5-dimension means. I see that's the work to hold that and walk it with 2 feet on the ground. How? It's a really high frequency, but it's clearly a purpose. Well, and Lisa says, tried so much. I'm very artistic in many ways. Yes. Yeah, so for you, Lisa, just exploring that artistic nature and realizing that there's a sense of prayer that can happen with that for others. So for you, Viola, so exploring I guess what I'm getting from this question, because how to ground that form of expansion that we can move through, that hopefully all beings, I pray that all beings can experience that state of heart expansion, that state of bliss, that state of connectivity to all that is. And from that place, how do we integrate it? How do we digest those experiences in a way that feels like they can be recreated, that they are part of our lens that we can look and witness through? Because I do believe that looking through the lens of love and looking through that expansiveness that can come through opening our perspective to a greater story, a greater interconnectedness of all beings is part of the work, right? So let's see what they've got to say, if there's any guidance on that. Something that we feel is that the bone marrow of every person, of every creature, is the storehouse of experiences. It's that hollowness, but that solid hollowness amidst the structures in our life that permeates what we've experienced and what we desire to experience, almost like a filter. And so it's in that bone marrow, it's in that center of our beings that all of these moments are stored. So to ground and establish a sense of sustainability when certain frequencies have been experienced, well, there are many ways and techniques depending on each individual, depending on where you're at in your life, depending on the space you have to actually implement different structures. For you, something that we're noticing is that your back requires more flexibility. Maybe you've already been doing that, but that there's something that can help you surface and move these energies by creating more flexibility and also more fluidity in your spinal column, so that these energies can move through and not get stuck at your lower lumbar. Okay? The other thing that we're noticing too is that there are ways of holding your feet on the ground, noticing where the pressure is, how you balance or how you offset your footprints. This can go for anyone too that wants to explore how they're greeting the earth with their body. Because how you greet the earth with your body is how you're capable of showing up in balance with life. Is one side a little more strong? Is there a waver? Are all of you on the earth? Is there space? And so to embody and to ground these experiences, we suggest quite literally exploring your body's capacity to be fluid and flexible, to be grounded and steadfast on the ground with your feet. The other thing that you can do is to explore sleeping. Oh, they're popping out. They're calling it like nocturnal sleeping, where maybe you're already doing that, but more times sleeping outside is also really helpful, because there's something that happens with the stars and the starlight as we actually feel that on our skin, that there is this relationship, and that the starlight in our skin can also help our body assimilate these frequencies. So exploring like how can you sleep outside more, maybe you already are, and when you're sleeping outside, also setting in prayers that these stars, that these are going to help you assimilate and balance and integrate the experiences, these celestial and these higher frequencies experiences that are coming to you, and letting that starlight kind of seep and support you in your way of holding. So that's that. What are you? Blessings. So moving on. Okay, we've got Tara Ann. And Tara Ann, are you here, Tara Ann? That was a little while ago you wrote that. Just want to double check. Oh, there you go. You just wrote this. So Tara Ann first said, if you're drawn to me, I would love and appreciate some guidance, whatever you get from me. And then up here, she says, I'm pretty sure, you're welcome, Viana. I'm pretty sure I'm in a twin flame connection, and it's been pretty rough. I've recently went through an awakening, so just figuring out, oh, you're here, fabulous. I just went through an awakening, so just been figuring out career, and this connection is, if this connection is really a twin flame, any guidance would be truly appreciated. Thank you so much. I mean, the first thing that I heard, to be quite honest, was like, I just heard getting you closer. That what you're experiencing is getting you closer, is like prepping you, is preparing you, isn't necessarily the end all and be all experience, because they're actually showing, they're calling it like lacerations on your chest. I'm seeing this image of like almost these like if there was a wolf that like, maybe you work with wolf, or maybe this person you're talking about is like wolf energy. I see like almost like a wolf scratch like over your chest. And it's this feeling, like what they're showing me is that in twin flame relationships, this capacity to regenerate after having the heart like really opened or torn, or kind of like gone through its growth, its expansion, should be able to happen a little faster. And so that there is, if there is the kind of momentum that's part of twin flame relationships. So twin flame relationships have a certain embodied momentum that is continual, right? And then that momentum can take many different forms. But nothing should ever fully feel stagnant in the same way with a twin flame relationship. There should always be different gears moving. And it feels like, well, the one thing they want to share is something that I had learned before about twin flame that I thought really spoke to me, which was that there's this idea, take it or leave it, that, you know, our beloved, our soul beings, our great loves, our animuses, whatever that may, or anima, or in between, these reflections that are, you know, birthed on this planet as we're birthed on this planet. That I read once that the longing or the pain from not being connected, right, and the not having these people in our life, really could be so vast that in order to soften it, Creator brings us or these twin flames, or these divine beloveds send us like these experiences, or these people that have aspects of them in it, like pieces of these people. And so as we go through these partnerships, we're like finding, or we're getting to taste and have like just a little, I don't know what that word is, but there's this beautiful word of just able to relax a moment from that potential grief or that challenge of not having this part of ourself in our lives. And so kind of what they're showing is that this person is showing you pieces of this great love, but that yeah, there's still a journey before you. But not to say like I never want to tell anyone to separate. That's not where I'm here to do. Just enjoy this journey together and notice where the stagnations are, and if putting energy towards the stagnations to keep momentum going isn't working, like if there's certain patterns that just aren't budging, then exploring like why is there not an opening happening, and who is getting in the way of that opening. And if it's you, what can you do there? If it's this partner, is there a desire to grow? But if there's not a desire to fully grow and open together, then you probably won't get as much reward from the experience in the long run. Okay, blessings. All right, so that was for Tarot. So the next question is from Ashley Shakti. Hey, sweetie. And so Ashley says, hey, Sarah, I want to know what is coming or going on in. Oh, and I want to hear what you said. Tara Ann said, yeah, I agree. It might be because he's holding on to things he won't let go. Yeah. So, hi, Sarah. I want to know what is coming, going in the integration part of this post-eclipse intensity. I'm still feeling pretty ungrounded and heartbroken. It was an intense one, right? Like, oh my gosh. I went through some really unexpected experiences too, exploring insecurities and doubts and some guilt and jealousy and all of those fantastic parts of ourselves. So for you, let's see if there's anything that we can support and integrating this intensity. Okay. The first thing I heard was like melatonin. I think you can take melatonin. I don't know. Maybe getting some sunlight. You're not supposed to do this alone. Sometimes in life, there are desires to pioneer, trailblaze, trudge through the mud of life, to create that pathway for others, to create that pathway for yourself to return to the destination when you go back to find more to come with you. But right now, what we're seeing for you is that there's a need to have the support of beloveds or others in your life, helping hold your hand. Because your capacity to fully see clearly through what's ahead of you isn't as strong as it usually is. There are some blind spots. There are some experiences that have caused you to look down at your feet along this path. And it's in that holding hands. It's in that being supported by others. Specifically, they're calling it like your mother's allies. So I don't know if that's quite literally like maybe an aunt in the family, or like a really close friend of your mom's, or maybe it represents like an older generation of women or a woman that could help support you but it feels like there's like what I'm seeing is this need to just kind of almost like collapse into your experience, maybe more than you already have. If you've just been collapsing left, right, and center, that's good too. But to be able to surrender and relax into this like this grief, and to have the space to really let it move through you and wash through you and clean through you. Because grief can be, I like to think of grief as like, can be, take all kinds of forms, like water. And you haven't collapsed yet. Okay, well, you have some collapsing, my dear, if you want. Yeah, because it's like this image that I'm seeing is just this, like, I'm just seeing you just being able to just like really let go and experience in Oregon at a midwifery apprenticeship, so that makes sense. Other midwives that could be. Are there doulas training out there too? Because I know doulas are also pretty amazing support networks. Maybe an elder doula. Because yeah, I just see, like, I see women. I see like and just this like to be unapologetically, authentically like blah. If that makes sense, like that this space for you to be with that is actually really cleansing. And also with exploring midwifery and going through being able to support mamas, is being able to hold these keys within your being on how to let these experiences have their space is really important. Because I'm a mother, and I know that so much of any resistances that I had in my birthing process, thankfully it was not that many, but were like where I wasn't fully allowing myself to just like be with the process in its rawness, in however it looked, however it felt, and feel that me fully experiencing it was actually exactly what needed to happen. That was my mission, that was my job, was to fully experience myself. And so it feels like in some way, even maybe what's happening for you is this natural initiation too, of being able to see how can you create space to fully experience what's moving through and what wants to cleanse through and wash through your system. So good luck on finding, I mean, it could be just one person, it could even be like a couple, like 2 to 3 women too, that you could even be honest with them, like, I'm just seeking a little bit of support. Maybe we just have tea, or we go to the forest. I don't know where you're at. It's pretty dry out there. But letting you feel into that, and make sure that you don't set up a situation where you have to host, or you have to feel like you're needing to give more. It's not about you giving, actually. It's a lot about you being able to fully surrender and receive. But it may require you letting other people know that that's what you need. All right. So blessings to you, Ashley Shakti, and congratulations on pursuing midwifery. It's an amazing, amazing gift to the world, and it sure does have its benefits, and also still has to go through its own hoops for sure. So let's say blessings to you, Clifford, and everyone else that has popped on. This is Sarah Burns and the Invisible. She says, thank you. So, you're wonderful. Yes, thank you for bringing that to the surface. So I am going to be closing, I believe. Maybe I'll sing a little closing song. And just to share that I'm traveling to Toronto. I'm going to be teaching out there, and I'm also going to be offering some sessions. So Ask the Invisibles is probably going to be either really short, or I might just not even do it on one of those days, because I'll have just traveled and been kind of like in the city and trying to ground from living out in the countryside. So thank you all, and I'll just sing a little farewell song. The rhythm that holds you, grounds you, and the music within you surrounds you, Carry your dream like you sow your seeds. Let the world grow them. Carry your dream like you sow your seeds. Let the world grow them. Let love and compassion be the waters that water them. Let the wind of truth be the wind that scatters them. Grow your truths within you. Grow your truths within you. Blessings to all, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Until next, aloha.